This is the community garden in Butte County, Idaho. I just wanted to show this to you because it's typical for a lot of community gardens and free spaces available. And the reason it's typical is that it's just not fully utilized. And the reason it's not fully utilized is just because it's so difficult to work land in comparison to just living on food stamps. What I mean by that is this was set up where the people that are on the lower, less advantaged individuals, they were given free plots, they were given free seeds, and initially embraced those free items with a great deal of enthusiasm. But then once they found out they had to weed and water, they stopped coming. And what's ironic is right behind me is where the food bank is. And they meet there Thursday afternoons. And the individuals that were initially allotted plots in this community garden, instead of growing their own food, they just go over to the food bank, to the handout, and get their free food instead of growing it. And I just think it's kind of ironic. So you hear that 1/8 of the overall U.S. population is food insecure, yet when you have opportunities like this, where you have free water, free land, and free seeds, nobody does anything with it. So you have a few people that just enjoy gardening, but aren't on food stamps, that grow food, because it's kind of a fun activity. It's, well, I would say fun, but definitely involved and wholesome. And I think it's kind of indicative of the general, kind of almost sad state of affairs for the United States population. Because if you look at the numbers, over half, literally, over half of the U.S. households are subsidized. They receive some kind of a government subsidy. And at least my take on that is, if you're subsidized, in other words, you're taking money from somebody else, and you're perfectly capable of growing food, I consider that theft. And I don't believe that really that ideology stands up to the general welfare clause in the U.S. Constitution. And I believe it was 1937. There was a court case, a Supreme Court case, and it had to do with a company that felt it was unconstitutional to pay the dues associated with Social Security. And in a 5-4 split decision, the court ruled in favor of Davis, that was a tax collector, the IRS basically, in current vernacular, ruled in favor of the tax collection scheme. Now what's ironic is it took about 30 years after that, a little less, for the paradigm to really be absorbed into the American society, because the citizenry still recognized that taking money from the blood, sweat, and agony of others that are earning it was wrong. But once Lyndon B. Johnson came to power, seized the opportunity to have the so-called war on poverty, they plunged the U.S. into significant governmental spending using this general welfare clause. Now the issue is, why did it take, a couple decades for this Supreme Court case to absorb into society? There's always this latency, this inertia, this social paradigm that it takes quite a while to reverse. And you see the same thing, whether it's the Vermont civil union efforts of 2002 that led to the inevitable Supreme Court ruling relative to same-sex marriage. Because of the time in Vermont, what's interesting about Vermont, the state in New England, it was the most Republican state until 1977. And now, you can consider the likes of Bernie Sanders as clearly the most leftist. It took time for that state, the people in that state, to kind of morph into modern-day socialists. And the percentage of people that are on the take there is just staggering. I lived there for several years, and what was interesting, you want to go and buy that quintessential, farmstead and enjoy the land and the beauty of that fairly cold climate. But what you're up against is a society that's really morphed away from the days of the movie White Christmas into something completely different. The nicest homes I noticed in Burlington and Winooski, they were the welfare housing. And the process, how that happened, I believe it was 1974, April edition of the Playboy magazine. Hugh Hefner called for all socialists and homosexuals to move to Vermont. And they did so, including Bernie Sanders from out of Manhattan, Howard Dean, many others. They could have control of the Burlington Free Press. That was a newspaper in Burlington, Vermont, the main newspaper for the state. They took over Burlington. They basically initiated NPR, VPR, Vermont Public Radio. And once they cornered the media, the people, they just kind of morphed. They changed. About a third of the state votes Republican now, mainly up in the northeast section of the state, pretty dominantly Republican there, but the whole situation, the whole standard changed. And I guess the point is, it really is an interesting case to consider that it just takes a little bit of time, a couple decades of kind of urging and morphing and grabbing the media. You can change any stance for any position, whether it's the transitioning from the independence, the notion of self-reliance into this general welfare state we're at today, or even on social values, completely changing the direction of a moral compass. It just takes some time, some nudging, and owning the echo chamber. And I think it's really worth considering. But I thought it'd just be worthwhile to demonstrate what a community garden looks like at this location, and to also illustrate the irony of having free community garden spaces with free seeds and free water, and yet for the population just to walk right over to the food bank right over there every Thursday and get their free processed food, instead of what I would consider doing the morally right thing and earning their food, earning their money. It really is kind of disappointing. And I think of something else too. If you have a civilization that for 50 years has been under the influence of this war on poverty, this notion that they can take things from other people in good times, to the point that half of the overall households in this country are subsidized, what happens when we have bad times? What happens when the dollar loses its value? And let's add one more layer to that. If you're in a society whose women have been trained for decades to believe it's their right to murder their children and call it a choice because their children are inconvenient, and that's become pretty much a social axiom, well, you got to ask yourself, what happens when you and I become inconvenient? Anyway, food for thought. I just thought I'd show this to you. It's kind of a mixture of things in terms of the necessity of self-reliance, the challenges of achieving it, and the fact that the society as a whole has just grown in terms of just absolute dependency. And it's kind of sad. But I wanted to show this to you. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good day. See ya.